biology. I was actually in graduate school at the time and didn't want to work with sick individuals or work in a hospital setting doing rehab, which I originally thought was what I wanted to do. And began working with athletes in graduate school, and when doing my undergrad, began working with the New York Islanders and a bunch of NHL hockey players, and really took a liking to the sport specific training. And when I opened my first gym, that was the audience I was looking to attract and people I wanted to work with. Um, and from there went on to open a couple personal training studios, uh, started personal training companies within gyms where we'd sublet out space and run the training program for the gym, and kind of redefined a couple different personal training models that were being done at the time. A little bit more unique, which then led to the personal training studio, which is more of like a boutique approach to working with clients. Was introduced to the world of networking or networking groups, starting with BNI back in 2006, 2008, I'm sorry. And didn't even know that anything existed like that. Um, then found another one which was very similar to BNI, did that for years, grew a large chapter, and realized I really liked this space of building relationships, getting to know others. Started my own back in 2019 called Connects. The idea was to put the person ahead of the profession. So it was to get to know people. And then once you connected as individuals, then we went into the hearing what your business or the service you provide. And then that over time evolved into what is currently in existence, which is my personal network, or MPN. And that's it in a nutshell.
Okay, so now tell me something personal about you. What is the best thing you did this past weekend that had nothing to do with work?
I trimmed the shrubs in the front yard, in which I somehow got a couple of thorns from rose bushes in my finger that I can't seem to find, but the pain won't go away. And you're probably thinking, how bad could that hurt? Especially Colleen, with all I know that you've done on a farm. Uh, I'm going to say it hurts, but I did trim shrubs and mulched the front area in front of the house. And I feel good now looking at it because it looks really nice.
That's awesome. So that's probably going to hurt for a while if you're typing today, especially, right? And they've got to work their way out. That's that's one of the fun things about that. So you are married, you have children. Do you have any pets?
I Not anymore. I had to put my dog down after 17 years, and that was a year ago, a little more than a year ago. Uh, my 12-year-old daughter has a bunny rabbit. So I essentially have a bunny rabbit, which is so pathetic because I miss having a dog. So I was laying down on the floor after cleaning the bunny cage yesterday, petting the bunny and brushing the bunny. And I just thought to myself, this is so sad. It's time for a dog.
That's great. So you're a bunny owner, unwilling bunny owner, something like that. That's funny. So my granddaughter has bunnies as well, and she has a bunny backpack that has clear windows on the side, so she and air holes and things, so she can take them around when she goes and rides her bike. Yeah. And she has a bunny pin in her bedroom and all the fun little bunny toys. So you just don't know what you don't know about bunny rabbits until you have a little girl that loves bunny rabbits. And then you get all the things. I think we even have a treat canister that when the bunny touches it a certain way, it will give a treat. But it's
Look
made
at it.
specifically for bunnies. So fun
So
things. Right.
Pavlovian.
So I can see a lot of things that you learned in the gym world, a lot of the disciplines there that are necessary, a lot of the structure, the systems, if you will, that automatically carry over into what you do now. And I know what you do now on an intimate level because I'm involved in doing that with you. Now, tell me this. What sets you apart in the business world, the networking world? What makes your approach so different?
Great question. And not just because whenever you do sales training, they tell the person it's a great question. That's a great question, legitimately. Reason being, in all the years, almost 20 years of being involved in the world of networking, I I kind of see life as a pre 9/11, post 9/11, just the way I look at life and the age I was at. I look at quote unquote networking as pre-COVID, post-COVID, where prior to COVID, the space was dominated by industry specific groups where you would hold a seat in a chapter and no one else could be a member of that chapter if they provided the same service that you did. And it worked. Pre-COVID, it worked. I think people were much more loyal to their region, to the small group that they belonged to. By small group, 25, 35, 50 people. But they were in close proximity to those individuals. So even if you really didn't get to know them, by seeing them on a consistent basis, you felt like you knew them. So there was a certain loyalty that people had. Post-COVID, I think once you let the bunny out of the bunny cage, it's not going back into the bunny cage on its own. That's how I feel many professionals kind of approached networking. And I, what sets me apart is I don't see your network and networking as the same thing. I look at networking as like flirting, gives you something to do, talk to someone, but it's not a real relationship. Your network is the relationship. So if networking is meeting people, your network are those you know. Like you and I know, I could talk about the farm you're on. I know about your almost 14 grandchildren. Like I know all these things about you. And if I've ever heard of anyone that could benefit from your service, I want to introduce you to them because I know you and I want to help you because we've built that. So it's more of the relationship side. And in that whole post-COVID world, many people got into different SaaS products or selling software as a service. Many people got into the coaching space. So what became very popular is people jumping onto a call, calling it networking, but in reality, it's cold calling face to face, where you ask people something, you're just waiting until they stop talking, wait till they stop talking, wait till they stop talking. They stop. Now you tell them what you do and then try to sell them your service. So often the person you're talking to tells you, oh, how can we help each other? Oh, well, I can help you with this service that will cost you this. And you're like, I'm not looking to buy something. So I think what MPN does differently is instead of starting with your network or networking, the main reason why I found that so many people had an issue with getting their service to be understood was the way they communicated and the way that they messaged the service that they offer. So they would get frustrated because they would tell someone their service and the other person wasn't interested, not necessarily because they didn't know someone who might be interested, but they didn't fully understand what that person was saying. So there was a disconnect in that messaging. So what I developed in MPN is a system that's truly built on science. So it's combining, our tagline is build yourself, build your business, build your network. It starts with you. So at MPN, members start by doing an evaluation to look at where they're at as far as their communication and their messaging, from their website to their social media to how well they can say their pitch in 30 seconds. Based on that, members choose 6 daily disciplines. So once you choose disciplines in the area of first hour awake, promise to yourself, one mental discipline, one physical discipline, and one business discipline that you work on for 30 days, that's the build yourself, build your business. Each month, you're put into a 3-person accountability group where you 3 are holding each other accountable to completing your daily disciplines by checking in daily with a text message, an email, a WhatsApp message. That's how you start to build your network, because anyone that goes through something with others is always going to feel a greater bond. Think of anything you've been a part of, from a job to a sports team to a hobby. You're going to feel more connected when there's a similar interest. So by focusing on building yourself and building your business, you automatically build your network. And then I developed the software and created an automated way that would make everything effortless. So it's very simple, but it's not always easy, because it requires individuals to be focused. But if your business can't succeed at MPN, I think there could be serious underlying issues with the business, because everything is laid out where you choose your disciplines. All I'm doing is offering that accountability and structure for you to follow. And we've had tremendous success from so many members, which you see on a consistent basis. So this is the thing I've done that I'm most proud of, because it was taking what I thought the biggest issues were when people would form relationships and automated it. So if you just follow it, guaranteed success.
Okay, so Chris, what I'm hearing and what I know from being on the inside and my experience in the business world is that your system, your methodology is foundationally different. And when I went from having 8 brick and mortar businesses where my network was my neighbor, the community, the people that I knew in person. In a small community, we don't have BNI here. We do have a little business hub, like a chamber hub, that met every week for lunch. But we knew each other on a different level, and it was very social and fun, and not so much business. We would have a short presentation, but that would be it. When I came online, looked at joining BNI, number one, it was a 2-hour drive each way for me. And even though I could have participated in the hybrid BNI and done virtual 3 weeks out of the month, one week I would have to drive to that, be there for an hour and a half, trade business cards, and then drive back, which is a lot of effort put in and a lot of time to trade business cards. I'm not in the business of trading business cards. I actually have my dad's Rolodex of business cards. If anybody wants them, I'll just mail them to you. I mean, there's thousands, I'm sure. But what I see is that, so I decided BNI definitely was out for me. Went around to different networking groups and tried to get in a room that was aligned. And by aligned, I mean, I didn't want to be in a room with a dog whisper. I don't want to be in a room where they're doing the hokey pokey, or I don't even want to be in a room necessarily where they're teaching you travel tips. I wanted somebody that would need my niche, my service, that we were in alignment. The difference that I've learned in going through your program and participating in your program is that, yes, alignment's important, but we're not talking about being aligned in a niche. Steve, feel free to jump in and give me your 2 cents after this. I will call on you too. We're talking about being aligned as human beings and as business owners and entrepreneurs. Are you aligned in what you get up and require of yourself every day? Are you aligned in how you show up as a human for your business, for your family, for all of it? And that's a different kind of alignment. Steve, tell me what that's looked like in your world.
Well, for me, I started this from the beginning with MPN, and since I've joined MPN and I've done the daily disciplines, I've my business has taken off. I have a huge pipeline right now. I just closed a huge deal, and I'm keep closing deals every week, which I've never done before. So with these disciplines, it helped me in every way. Now, none of a lot of disciplines in the beginning were just me getting up in the morning and that's it, and getting up early. And that getting up early has changed a lot for me and my business.
Yeah, and I don't feel like they're difficult disciplines. So for me, um, and you choose your own disciplines, be clear on that. For me, it's like my 20 ounces of water has made a huge difference. First thing in the morning, 20 ounces of water, 20 minutes of meditation before my feet hit the ground. And you get to choose the things that you have as your daily disciplines. I will say that when I started with MPN, I started like, oh, okay, well, I do these things anyways. Let's do those. right? I saw Steve smile. And then I went, let's up the ante a little bit. Why not make it a little bit more challenging? Why not grow as a human being and a business owner by challenging myself with some of these disciplines and making them a little bit more? And so right now, one of my disciplines is to work out, have a routine with weights, with lifting weights. And I'm not fond of it, but I am getting better at it. And so it is helping me to learn and grow, but it's not my fun spot to do. Now, one of the things too that I want to point out, Chris, is that you talk about you knowing my farm, and I know you're a girl dad, and I know your gym history, and I know things like that about you, but we're no longer saying, do you know anybody I can help? I've never heard that be said in MPN. And the reason being is I'm not fighting to be top of mind with anybody because I have a personal relationship with each and every one of the people in MPN. And so it's like referring your neighbor. It's like referring your best friend. You know them that well. And so it's easy to think of them when the time comes up.
If I can, so that still sounds similar to the traditional networking. So let me make this shift to, again, what makes it different. So this approach is based on neuroscience. That's key. So by coming up and having these daily disciplines, the whole purpose of them is they tackle the challenges that most professionals face with habits backed by the neuroscience and psychology. So each discipline that you're choosing is building confidence and consistency, which helps you grow personally and professionally. So what makes that key is when I ask people what defines a leader, you hear a million different answers. They're this, they're that. One thing defines a leader, that they have followers. And people won't follow you unless they believe that you don't just talk the talk, but you walk the walk. And I believe many people don't buy the service that people are trying to sell because there isn't a belief that that individual is the person they're trying to portray. When you have daily disciplines and weekly steps that are helping you to not just communicate more effectively, but to show, we have at MPN what's called an accountability chart where members have a streak and it shows how many days you have maintained completing how many of your 6 daily disciplines. Based on certain milestones, you earn badges that will show how long you have kept that streak going. That consistency builds confidence. I've seen people join MPN and talk about being scared as can be to speak in front of a room, to hosting their own events, to writing books that are now published on Amazon. And they said, I've never written a word in my life. So these disciplines help people to create the structure and have the accountability. And the main areas that we focus on at MPN are overcoming procrastination, improving consistency, strengthening your accountability, and creating structure. And when you have that in place, those are the 4 areas that business owners either excel in or don't. And the ones that don't never see their business get off the ground. They have a vision for what they want to do. You made a comment about who you can help or who you're looking to meet. I think that it's sweet when people get onto calls and say, I'm looking to change 1 million lives. I'm looking to do this. I think it's so wonderful, but I think everyone should worry about themselves first. Before they can go change the world, they need to change their day. And by just structuring 6 items, again, 3 within an hour of waking. So maybe it's wake up by 5 a.m. as your first, your second, consume 20 ounces of water. And your third might be make your bed. Those 3 mean nothing. Wrong. With neuroplasticity, what you're doing is by you honoring a commitment to yourself, that's your first 3 wins of the day. Now you feel good. And the more consistent you are at doing that, the better you now feel, the more confident you are, even though it's simple. And then the physical and mental, someone like Steve, who said he can't remember the last book he read, chose read 10 pages a day. Steve's banging out books every week now. Like, this is someone who said, I hate reading. Amazing. Steve's lost 25, 30 pounds since he started this. And he said, I could never lose weight. But by him planning out his meals ahead of time, by him committing to walking 30 minutes or 20 minutes every day, that's the kind of results that everyone knows what they need to do. They just don't do it. And my whole thing at NPN is I'm not here to teach anyone anything. I don't believe in teaching. When you have individuals who are successful, who work for themselves, you can't say, I'm going to teach you something, because right away they're like, what are you going to teach me? It's a blow to the ego. So much of NPN is understanding the right way to communicate with people so that what you say lands, versus you being like the rest where you're going to teach. We share. No one knows more than anyone else at NPN. We just have different experiences. So what you know that someone else might not, they know something that you don't know. And that's the idea of, by getting to know others, there's a saying that is completely wrong. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Wrong. It's not what you know. It's not who you know. It's who you know that knows what you know. Because if that person doesn't know your contribution, your experience, your knowledge, then they can't connect you to opportunities. So the whole foundation of NPN is 6 daily disciplines, 4 weekly steps. The steps are about communication. The disciplines are about building yourself, personal and professional development.
I love that. And I will say too that, as entrepreneurs, we don't need another dose of motivation. I've never met an entrepreneur that can't dream, that isn't motivated, that doesn't have that fire burning. What happens is, as we get busy and going about our day, the motivation and the fire just kind of burn out because we're lacking structure. And that's the thing that sets NPN apart, is that we've got the structure that we need. And knowing something is absolutely not the same as doing something. And so that's where the accountability comes in. I want to pop back to the chart. So the accountability chart that we have that shows if we've completed our disciplines for the day. I used to run to that to make sure that I got my disciplines done. And now I, more often than not, find myself going, who hasn't got their disciplines done, and reaching out to them and saying, hey, are you on track? Hey, can I help you get on track? Do you just need a reminder? And sometimes they're like, wait, what? I did it. It just didn't post right. Or, and so just that communication. But once again, it's relationship building. It's really getting to know people. And that is huge when we're doing networking. Let's talk a little bit about specific, I guess you gave us a couple of specific shifts you've seen with members inside NPN. Let's talk about shifts for NPN. Where's NPN going and where was it previously? Like, what's the change you made this year? I know there was a change. Let's talk about that change.
So the first change in the evolution of quote unquote networking group to more of accountability was realizing that I surveyed everyone coming in to Connect and then NPN, and it ended up being hundreds of surveys that I did. And I asked people, what's the number one thing you like to talk about when you're quote unquote networking? Number one thing people said was family. Second was travel. When I asked people, what's the number one thing you don't like to talk about when networking? Business was number one. Isn't that interesting? The number one thing people said they don't like to talk about is business. So many groups and organizations will make, and in 2019, when I started Connects and said it's about the person, not the profession, I was told I was absolutely crazy. Who's going to go to that? People want business. I said, I don't believe that business comes from pitching business. It's like when you can't find your car keys, when you stop looking for them, there they are. So it was finding out what is the issue that people have when networking virtually. And there was always that, well, it's not the same as in person. It's not the same experience. People have an agenda. That was completely true. So it's figuring out when people meet, how's the experience for both parties? When I surveyed and asked people, how many one-to-ones you do in a week? I would hear anything from 5 to 10 a week. I would then say, of all those one-to-ones, what percentage would you guess you have a second one-to-one with? Less than 5% of everyone I surveyed said they ever had a second one-to-one. So if you only meet with someone one time, that to me is wasted time. You can't tell me time is money and how busy you are. You might be busy or not productive because you're meeting with people you're never going to see again. It's like being on an airplane talking to the person next to you and you never see them again. As I asked, what do you talk about in your one-to-one? Oh, it ranges. It depends. NPN is the first organization of its kind. Nothing else exists like it, where it starts in a small group setting called a meetup where there's 7 people. That's step 1, in which using the software that I developed, you choose one person per call that you would like to follow up with for a one-to-one, and you state specifically what was it they said that resonated with you. You click a button that says follow up for that person. It sends them your scheduling link instantly, in which before you're off the call, they schedule a time to meet with you for a one-to-one. When you meet for a one-to-one at NPN, you select 3 questions from a dropdown similar to the disciplines, and the other person selects 3 questions. This is the first time that the one-to-one has been standardized. Each month, there's 40 questions loaded into it. Not really 40 questions, it's 10 questions asked 4 different ways. You're going to grab the question. This is where the psychology plays in. You're going to grab the question to ask that you're comfortable with. Not just comfortable asking, you're going to read every question and think of an answer quickly. Can I answer that? So what you're really doing is selecting the 3 things that you want to share with the person you're meeting with, because you ask your question and then you answer your question. But by them answering your question first, you've now increased the likelihood of them listening to you because they're reciprocating. So again, we're using psychology for the approach. And following having a one-to-one, you complete a 4th step by recapping, where you're just clicking tags. What stood out about that person in the conversation? That member is able to see what are the common tags that people click on after they meet with them. So for anyone in sales, it allows you to see how you come across to others. So like I always joke and say, I think I'm pretty funny, but only 7 out of the last 55 people that I've met with put humorous as one of the memorable traits. So either I'm not very funny or I need to be a little bit more humorous or tell a joke or something when I meet with people. So it's helping those who are introverted feel like they're not railroaded or that they aren't seen. So whether it's a meetup with 7 people, everyone on the call selects one question that they would like to ask the others on the call. Whoever selected the question, they call the order they want to go in. So it's handing over the mic to them to call on the order they'd like. And then when you have your one-to-one, you're selecting the 3 questions. So again, it's always question selection. So I know what questions are most popular, where people connect the most. And it's always comes down to something either around a repeatable system that you follow or a relationship that's meaningful. So I've seen where in this space where the greatest improvement's been made. And it's for those people who feel like they're not seen, because the extroverts tend to get all the attention on calls. And so often in networking, you'll say, how many people belong to the group? I want to see a lot of people on the call. If you're not memorable with 10 people, you're really not going to be memorable with 50 people. More people doesn't mean bigger opportunity. More people means more likely to not be remembered. So NPN goes for the quality over quantity. Everyone will tell me, I'll ask, would you prefer 3 close friends or 10 acquaintances? 3 close friends. I'm all about quality. Awesome. Any questions about joining? Yeah. How many members do you have? You can't say both. So the idea here is building quality relationships and building yourself and earning the respect. Those relationships become stronger when there's struggle involved. And the struggle sometimes is just completing those daily disciplines. So like what you said you do, where you've reached out to people have told me, oh, wow, Colleen's so nice. I forgot to do that. Steve told me about, I was doing 7,000 steps a day. Colleen said, let's bump this up to 10,000. Like, that's great. That earns the respect. When you're each pushing each other to become better, you stop wishing things get easier and you start making yourself better.
Yes. And so there was a question in the chat. Nicole said, how do you navigate the simple chit chat into more intriguing combo? And so I just want to recap that. As Chris said, there are questions that when I go into a one-on-one with somebody, I have chosen my 3 questions and they have chosen their 3 questions, and we ask each other the questions. It gives you the opportunity to go as shallow or as deep as you like into those questions, but it also fills the time. So you're no longer looking at the wall and going, hello, Catwoman, why am I in this room? How much longer? I have 12 more minutes. What am I going to do next? We're not in that situation. You're actually learning about people and learning about them on a deeper level. And learning what they want to share, but maybe would never come up in any other conversation.
And it's on a platform. So you're in a platform where you have a profile ID. So you log in and it keeps track of everyone who you've either been in a small group meetup with or who you had a one-to-one with. So all of your notes from meetups are in the platform under that person. So I could open Colleen's profile and I could see every meetup that we've been on together. I can open that date and see what was Colleen's question that day and what were my notes that I jotted down about her. When we do a one-to-one, again, in her profile under connection history, I select 3 questions, she selects 3 questions, and then it creates a one-to-one meeting card where each person's 3 questions are there. And then you can take notes underneath the questions. It stores that card in Colleen's profile. So I could go back to every one-to-one I've ever had with Colleen, click on the date, look at what 3 questions she asked me, what 3 questions I asked her, what are my notes there. So it's a structured way for you to build these relationships where each party chooses what they would like to talk about. So it's all on the platform.
And when I came into MPN, Chris, one of the questions I had was, okay, how many meetings am I going to have to go to each week? How many, whatever commitment, what's the commitment I'm making as far as time, meeting time during my business day? And that came down to your meetup, your follow-up meeting, your one-to-one, and your recap, all of which are 30 minutes, except one of them is 45 minutes, I believe.
Yeah.
So my meetup is 45 minutes and that has everybody on it. So very little time commitment for that compared to I was the person who was having 10 one-on-ones a day, 3 days a week.
If you follow up with none of them, what's the point for even having the first one?
Well, and I'm running from half of them to before we even get there. And so what's the point in having those either, right? I need to be in rooms with people who are aligned with me as a human being and a business owner. And that's huge and sets things apart. Go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say, from what you just said, thank you for saying that. Here's my biggest takeaway. If anything I say today, please let this stick with you. So often when, quote unquote, and I keep saying that because I just can't stand the whole idea of like networking the way how it's viewed. For some reason, everyone that's networking, they will say things like, how can I want to meet these kind of people? Or, well, Chris, I want to ask these questions. Networking is a very selfish act. It's all about what you want. I want to meet these people. I'm looking to meet this. Anyone who's been in business for more than a year knows 15 to 20 people who do what you do. What makes you memorable is something that's relatable or you have in common with that person. When I'm meeting people or building my network with someone like Steve, for example, the reason that I'm proud and would refer him and value the friendship is I know he is someone of action. Seeing that accountability on the accountability scoreboard shows, Jim Rohn said, you're an average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Look at the people you spend the most time with. Are they a good representation of you? Everyone can claim, oh, I get up at 5 o'clock every morning. Oh, I journal every day. Oh, I do this. Prove it. Because I believe the majority of people who claim it aren't really doing it. And those who are, don't talk about it. Those who aren't, they're the ones that are trying to convince you of all the things that they do, but those are the same people that forget to follow up or send back an email or return a call. I don't believe people at their word. I believe by their action. And that's a whole approach here. It doesn't matter what you're saying or what you want if the person on the other end isn't listening or isn't connecting with you. And that's why starting in a meetup by identifying, oh, that's the other thing. At a meetup, you don't say your service until the very end after the person you chose to follow up has been selected. It's an afterthought because at the end of the day, you've heard a million times, people don't care how much you know. They want to know how much you care. The same thing applies to the business or service. I feel that networking has become something where everyone is trying to prove how successful and how great they are. And you'll even hear similar pitches. I work with high net worth individuals. I work with super high achievers. High achievers and high net worth people aren't starting off on the starting line. They've been at this for a long time. Just because you've been a coach for a year or two, you're not going to march into their office and restructure their business from top to bottom. So it's almost like take a look in the mirror and start there. And if you can't honor your commitments to yourself, no one's going to believe that you can help them with theirs. So that's why I believe this entire industry of those who are in the networking space, I call MPN in the accountability space. We're not a networking group, we're an accountability group. We help you to do the things you know you need to, but you know you don't. Not because you're not motivated, not because you don't have a vision, but many of us lack structure and accountability. And when you work for yourself, you don't have a team, you don't have a boss, you don't have someone watching to make sure you get it done. So MPN is for anyone who is a self-employed service provider where relationships matter and that consistency counts.
Okay, so I want to say two things. First, we have 4 members of MPN that are on this call right now. So I'd love to call on Ashley and have Ashley hop up and tell us her favorite thing about MPN.
Yes, hello. I love MPN for a couple different reasons. So I'm someone that was always really structured but I didn't have that like community around me. So MPN really brought that community to me. It not only like if I have a question about business in any aspect of my business, I know that I have a handful of people that I could call from MPN and just ask a question to, and they'd be okay with it. The other thing is that it really does show who would be good to go into business with. I know you guys talked about like the accountability side, and like Colleen, I know you've checked me on it too, where you're like, hey, you didn't do your thing today. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And it really just shows like who actually says what they're doing and does what they're saying. So I really enjoy MPN. It's been a really great experience, and I'm glad to have met the people that I've met in there.
Yeah, and so for anybody that doesn't know, Ashley is my admin. She was not my admin before I went into MPN, and she wasn't, I mean, I was in there for months before I hired her. The second thing I want to say is that I would like to say that I have refined my taste in networking. I don't know what that means, but I have like, I just don't sit in rooms. I don't sit at the wrong tables anymore. I just don't. I won't anymore. I refuse to. I got old and set in my ways. And so I'm sitting in a room right now with 2 gentlemen that I have a lot of respect for. And I am in there networking. And when I tell you that I don't go to networking, I don't go to networking. I don't like it. But I go to Carl Lucci's I Refuse to Fail. His is a smaller group and it is so much like family, and I absolutely love it. And it is not salesy. We never sell. There's a group of partners in there. We're never there to sell. We're always there to serve and help people. And I love his group. Carl, I would love to hear your take on the things that Chris has been sharing, just because I value your opinion and our relationship. I would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, Chris, good job, man. I'm telling you, I really like what you're doing. I actually, and I'll try to make this brief because you and I have to have a one-to-one. There's no doubt about that. That I quit my own organization. I started in 2010. I stopped it in 2017 because I realized it just wasn't working. I was following what everybody else was doing, and I sat right here in this chair, and the hair on the back of my neck stood up. I said, I got to stop this. So I quit my own organization. I had 6 locations that were person to person. Networking had become a trade show. It came where people showed up and said, I'm the greatest thing in the world. You need me, call me. And I did surveys. I researched for a year and a half, and I found that nobody attends a networking meeting to buy anything, but most everybody attends networking meeting to sell something. So if everybody's there to sell and nobody's there to buy anything, why do it? I had enough business cards that I collected. I could have wallpapered 3 houses. Why collect business cards? Why pass them out? I even train people not to give referrals, to make connections instead. So we're very similar in our approach, I think, with the same goal, but I think I can learn from you some of the things that you're doing. I don't have a software that you have, but we did create something recently called My Trusted Connections, where you can add those people to a list of your trusted connections, and you can share those with other people. And so I don't want to take up all the time here because I could do it, but I would love to have a one-to-one with you. But I actually agree with you 110% on everything you're saying about it.
Thank you for that, Carl. I want to take just a few more minutes before I ask my hot seat questions, and those are coming at you, Chris. It's my turn. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Chris before we get to the hot seat? You can raise your hand. You can unmute. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do have a question. Okay. I've found that most people, not me, most people don't like change. And they've gotten so used to doing the same thing the same way, it's very difficult to convince them to do things a different way. And I can't make people change in the first time they attend one of my events. There's just no way. I mean, you have to, that takes a little bit of training or convincing or whatever you want to call it. So how do you get people to buy into change?
Well, now I can agree 110% with you that, and I thought when you said hair in the back of your neck, it was going to be my hair is beginning to thin. I thought you were going to make a joke over that. You're totally right. Here's the thing I learned very quickly about the networking space. Everyone thinks they're good at it. People are so convinced that they're good at it that they take pride. I'm a big time connector. I'm a big time networker. I'm so into connecting people. So you can send an email between 2 people. Like, you're not exactly splitting an atom by making an introduction. It's something that people want incredible credit for the effort they put forward, but you're not judged by efforts, you're judged by results. So you said, as far as bringing people together, I always said it's like being a caterer or a popularity contest, because that to me is what networking is: who feels popular and who use it as part of their identity. By incorporating the accountability chart, that was my way of showing people that maybe their way isn't as effective as they thought it was. Because first off, if you're not going to build yourself first with those daily disciplines, people aren't going to take you seriously. So instead of trying to teach people, it's showing them that they are representing themselves by those actions. So that's our main way how we've combated that.
Gotcha. Okay.
I love that. So I have some hot seat questions for you, but I want to say that at the end of the day, one of the things that is keeps coming back to my mind in this conversation, and has been coming back to my mind a lot recently, is to never let the problem to be solved ever become more important than the person to be loved. And I know that maybe that sounds a little cliche, maybe that sounds like family issues, but when we're building business online and we have to build personal relationships, we need to remember that we're not here to solve the great problem of who can I connect with. We're here to find people to love and people whose lives we can bless, and to really focus on the personal side of building relationships. My father was the greatest salesman. When we went to his funeral, my friends were in the parking lot because there was standing room only in the funeral. And it's because he served. He led with the servant's heart at all points and times. There was a time when my dad had taken $27,000 back in 1973 and purchased a duplex in a not so fancy area of town. For 33 years, he never raised the rent. Every week, we would go over and mow the yard. And let me tell you that I was 8 years old and I had to have the handle lowered on the lawnmower. And I knew exactly how to line the tires up to make that lawn look meticulous. Why does it matter? Why does it matter? We went over every 3 years as a family and we painted that duplex inside and out. Anytime there was a problem, my dad needed to check an appliance, anything like that. If there was a bug service was called and it was on him. 33 years, he never raised the rent. About year 31, I was in the proximity of somebody who called my father a slum landlord. And to see my dad, and I caught his eyes, and he just kind of leaned over to me and he says, "Daughter, I'm not a slum landlord." And I said, "Well, why have you never raised the rent then, Dad?" And he said, "Because these are children of God. Why would I do that to them? What would their life look like on the other end of that rent being raised?" And so that just brings me back to the fact that this is relationships. This is people. Never, ever, ever let the problem to be solved become more important than the person to be loved. In every aspect of life, it is seen, it is heard, and people understand that. And that is how you build your business, is by leading with that servant's heart and really getting to know people on that level. We're not filtering people through by business cards anymore. That's the end of my soapbox. Chris, are you
Can I
ready?
sprinkle one last thing on
Yes, please do.
that point, as far as entrepreneurship or owning a business or book of business is lonely? Because again, you don't have the structure, you don't have the accountability, excuse me, you don't have the officer team around you. Sometimes just talking to someone and sharing what you're stressed out about. I lost 2 clients this month. These bills are piling up. I have this event. My son starts college in the fall. I'm really stressed on how I'm going to pay for it. Those conversations cause others to open up, and the relationship forms understanding the fear that someone has or what someone's working on. And there's many people out there, some may be on this call, who are questioning, maybe I shouldn't have gone into this. Maybe I shouldn't have become a coach. You're not the only one to think that. But the only thing that can improve it is action. And MPN is built on action, accountability, and support. So the action is creating a structure, because you can only improve that confidence and make yourself feel better and more confident by having a repeatable process. So that's why this is specifically designed for people who feel like they can't get ahead. They feel like they should be further along. It's giving you what you don't have on your own. And that's where the relationships really start to take root. And I see on all the time, social media, people commenting who I know met at MPN, and it makes me feel great. That's my contribution, not needing to always share my story, but know that I've been responsible for connecting them indirectly.
I love that. And I can agree more. So Chris, here you go. You get to take the hot seat. You ready? Okay. What's one thing everyone in the networking industry is doing that you think is complete BS, and why are they still doing it?
Industry specific categories and believing people follow that.
Ooh, okay, good. That's a good answer. And you have Carl's vote of confidence on that. All right, number 2, a little more personal here. What's a mistake you made that cost you serious money or time, that you kept making anyways because you were too proud or too scared to admit that it wasn't working?
I could have filled an hour on that. Easy. Probably doing a full gym build out, adding on doing the space and not locking in the lease the way I should have. And that was flushing tens of thousands of dollars down the drain.
Yeah, that's a big one. That hits.
I've done it more than once too. So it
I know,
hits,
right? Because sometimes
it's hard.
we're slow learners.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I often tease with my husband. I'm like, yeah, well, you know me. It's going to take me more than once to learn. He'll say, can you put that one on your experience account? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you're not going to do it again? I'm like, until my big old heart shows up, and then I might.
My wife said the same, and that would be my second wife because even marriage I couldn't get right the first time.
There you go. Okay, so for your last hot seat question, if you could give only one piece of advice to somebody in the networking industry, but it would go completely against the grain, what would it be, and why is it worth the backlash? This is your moment to stand on.
Don't believe what people say, believe what people do.
Oof, I like that.
And I learned that with my daughters because someone told me when it comes to parenting, kids, the lessons they learn aren't going to be from what you say, it's going to be from what they observe. And that really could not have ever proven to be more true with one of my daughter's language and the other one with her. My 9-year-old daughter has an accountability chart, writes out a to-do list on a whiteboard every morning, lays out her clothes for camp the night before. She makes me so proud, and she doesn't even realize I tell her, but she doesn't realize how proud I am because she's created that structure.
I love that. That's amazing. Okay, so everybody, Chris has dropped in the chat, and we'll drop one more time a link to come be his guest inside MPN. And then make sure that you grab the chat, save the chat. This has been Monday Morning Business Foreplay. If today's conversation has helped you to see something differently, to make one clearer decision, or to take a meaningful step forward, then this hour did exactly what it's supposed to do, because clarity creates momentum, and momentum beats motivation every day. Structure beats motivation every day. Huge thank you to Chris for sharing your experience and your perspective with us. Do you have any last words, my friend?
I want to thank you. You are one of the few people in all the networking that I've met who actually does what you say you'll do. You are a person of your word. You've proven that time and time again. And everyone on this call who knows you, you're definitely a relationship that they should all value because there aren't a lot of you out there, Colleen, and that's what I'm hoping to multiply is by having people like you as part of MPN. I'm hoping that this becomes the norm, and 3 to 5 years from now, this becomes the landscape of how people build relationships by building themselves, building their business, then building their network.
I love that. I love that. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.